Well, since so many of you in the comments from my last video were convinced that I was at fault, I was the one who should have gotten out of the way of the bus, I looked up all the Wyoming laws, the Wyoming state laws, and all that for the whole situation, and no, I'm not in the wrong. The bus was in the wrong. I'll tell you why, all about that, and I did hear from the owner of Le Bus on this episode of
The Clutch Trucker Channel.
Clutch Trucker, filmed before a live and very, very fuzzy studio audience. Yep, that's Rusty, the world-famous meatball dog. Hey YouTube, Clutch Trucker here. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Clutch Trucker channel. Alright, yeah, I've got to defend myself against all these comments where so many people were saying that I was the one in the wrong, and I'm not. And I'll tell you why. I've got a whole bunch of things to talk about as far as this goes. First off, let me just say, I've been a professional truck driver for over 13 years. And I have had no accidents, collisions, mishaps, yada, yada, yada during that time. I'm 56 years old. I've been driving since I was 16. Most people drive an average of maybe 300 to 400,000 miles, maybe in their lifetime. I have driven probably somewhere between 2 and 3 million miles. I've driven almost 1 million miles in this truck alone. I owned 2 trucks before this one, and I was a company driver for years. And then you add in all my personal driving before that. Hello! Second big thing you should know about me, and if you've watched my videos for a long time, you probably know this. I'm a rule follower. I follow the rules. I'm not aggressive as a driver. I'm a very defensive driver. If I hadn't been, I would have been in some incidents, okay? And like I say, I follow the rules. And whenever there's work zones and people go flying by at 70, 75, drives me insane. For one, I think a lot of the commercial drivers are too stupid to realize what the laws are. If you get caught speeding in a commercial vehicle in a work zone, they throw a reckless driving charge at you, which means you lose your job. If you're an owner-operator like me, you lose your insurance, which means you lose your job. So I'm not willing to risk that. As I've said many, many times in my videos, I never go more than 2 to 3 miles an hour at most over a posted speed limit. Many people are under the misconception that you can go 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, whatever's posted. Well, most cops won't bug you for that, but that's not true. If they want to pull you over, they can. So that's why I always stay in that 2 to 3 mile range at most over, and I never get hassled. All right, so let's dive in. Many people in the comments claimed that this was all my fault. Okay, and I looked up the Wyoming laws, and based on those laws, I've got proof as to why I'm not at fault, and I was in the right, and I'll explain that. Also, a few people even said, oh, well, Clutch was hiding on his dash cam showing what speed he was going. Okay, I zoomed in to show you the thing happening, but when I said, well, let's look at it again, it was down there. So let me just show you now, and I'm going to zoom in on that. All right, here I am in the left lane, the passing lane. I'm going around that motorcycle and that van. Look, 70 miles an hour right there. All right, I'm at the speed limit. I'm moving over to the right, as I legally have to do right after passing a vehicle. More on that coming up in a minute. And you see 70, 71, 70, and it's basically staying 69 right around the speed limit. Okay, I'm not accelerating. I'm not trying to edge the bus out or anything. 70 miles per hour, and look, 69. There he goes, going at least 75. See, right there, 69 miles per hour as he's passing me. So you can clearly see I'm not speeding. The speed limit at that moment was 70 miles an hour, and you saw I was going between 68 and 70. And I was maintaining that, because that is part of the law. Okay, part of that law involves, in Wyoming especially, if you are passing another vehicle, in this case where there's at least two lanes going the same direction is the way the law is written, and you overtake that vehicle, for one, you can't be speeding. There is an exception to that, and I'll get into that a little bit later. Two, as soon as you are safely around the vehicle you are overtaking, you must return to the right lane or the rightmost lane of travel. And that's where that whole keep right except to pass rule that's all over the country comes into play. Wyoming gets more specific, saying you must move back into the right lane after completing that. That's where some people put in the comments, well, you should have just stayed in that left lane when you knew in about another half mile that that lane was going away, and that way the bus couldn't have tried to go around you. Okay, yeah, maybe so, but I always follow the rule, and now I know for sure it is an actual law that after you've overtaken a vehicle in Wyoming, you must move back to the right lane, especially commercial vehicles. That's why after I got around the motorcycle and the van, I moved to the right lane. Okay, so this brings up the next point where everybody was saying, well, now that I'm in the right lane and that right lane was ending, which technically it wasn't ending, it was just merging back in because the passing lane was going away. And yes, the passing lane's on the left. But, you know, sometimes in some states, I know Arizona and New Mexico do this sometimes, where they will show the opposite of the sign that I showed you on that freeze frame, where the passing lane has to then merge over, because that's technically what really is happening. But I'm already on the roadway. And this is where a lot of people were saying, well, it's just like merging onto a highway. And no, it's not. If you are merging onto a highway or an interstate, you're on the on-ramp. You are not already on the roadway. Everybody on that roadway already has the right-of-way over you merging on. That's why when you're coming on the ramp, you should be looking to see if there's a space, if you can just slide in, or if you need to speed up or slow down to merge in safely. Okay, I'm already on the roadway. I just happen to be in the right lane because, remember I said earlier, I have to go back to that lane as soon as I'm done overtaking a vehicle. Now, here's where the next rule comes in, okay? So, even though my lane was disappearing, as some people say, it really wasn't. It's just those two lanes were now merging into one. That's the way it's written, and I'll explain more. So now, the Wyoming law says if you are on a two-lane highway or a two-lane highway with a passing lane, and you are going to overtake the vehicle in front of you, for one, you cannot be speeding. There is an exception. That exception is if you're in a car, a pickup, or a motorcycle, you can go up to 10 miles an hour over the speed limit to overtake that vehicle, and then immediately after you've overtaken the vehicle, you must return back to the posted speed limit. However, this does not apply to buses, semi-trucks, tractor-trailers like me, or any vehicle towing another vehicle. So already the bus is wrong in that case, because as you clearly saw in the video I showed you earlier, where my speed was going 68 to 70 miles an hour, he was clearly going way past that to try to get around me. So he's already broken one law by speeding. Now, as far as the passing law, again, in Wyoming at least, here's where this one comes into play. Two-lane highway, say you're going northbound, traffic's going southbound, there's somebody slower in front of you. This is, again, where if you're in a car, you can then cross into the oncoming traffic lane, as long as it's striped that way, where you can legally pass, and you can go even up to 10 miles an hour over the speed limit in Wyoming, as long as you're in a car, pickup, or motorcycle only, okay? To do that, well, that's fine. Again, the bus can't do that, but it clearly states it must be safe to do so, and you must be able to safely complete that pass, that overtaking of the other vehicle, and return to your lane safely without causing any other vehicles to have to swerve out of your way or anything. It clearly states all that you must be able to do it safely. This is, again, where the bus driver screwed up. Okay, so I've had to merge back into the right lane because legally I have to do so. I look in the mirror, I see he's back behind me. His front of the bus is pretty much right on the bumper of my trailer. I'm a 75-foot long vehicle, okay? And I'm going about the speed limit right now. I'm not accelerating like a couple of people on the bus tried to claim I was, but I'm not. And I wasn't accelerating to try to edge him out. I was not. I was simply doing what I legally have to do, which is move back to the right. I had now been able to get myself up to speed, and I'm staying right at speed, 68 to 70 miles an hour. So now, what he needs to do legally is decide whether it's safe or not to pass at that point, because he can clearly see that the passing lane is going away, and we're returning back to just a two-lane highway. He chose to go ahead and speed up, for one, illegally, and try to pass me when it was not safe to do so. Therefore, again, I'm not in the wrong. Like I say, yes, the front of the bus was pretty much right on my trailer when there was still just a couple of the dotted lines left, but it was not safe for him to try to pass and to complete that maneuver before the lanes had gone. That was his bad decision. That, again, is illegal on his part. So the fact that he had to go across the double yellow line and people were saying, well, that was me edging him out. No, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. He should have known I can't legally and safely make this pass. I need to just drop behind this truck or just wait in the left lane for the truck to move over and we move ahead, and then he can pass me in the next passing lane, which was only a few miles away. Why was he in such a freaking hurry? And as I said again before, I've driven charter buses before. You don't put your passengers at risk like that, stupidly. Oh, and one last point I do want to throw in there, and a lot of people were also saying, well, you should have anticipated that maybe he was going to try to pass you at the last second like that. And, no, I didn't anticipate that, and I'll tell you why. I used to drive charter buses like that. And as a professional, he has to have a CDL license. He has to have a Class B, not an A, but still a B. And he should have taken all the tests and had all the training. When I see him behind me and I know the lanes are about to end, I certainly did not expect him to try to pass me, because a professional driver with a Class B CDL shouldn't be attempting that. I never did when I was a Class B driver driving motor coaches like that. So honestly, when he was right there with his bus at the back of my trailer, I didn't expect him to floor it and all of a sudden try to get around me when it wasn't going to be safe to do so. So yeah, honestly, I was not expecting that. So I will admit that I wasn't expecting that, because a professional driver shouldn't have done that. Not to mention, in this whole thing, it's just not courteous and not the right thing to do. And as I said in my last video, there's been plenty of times where I've been in that left passing lane passing somebody, and I realize I can't safely make it around another vehicle, so I back off and move to the right, because I have to legally do that. Not as much as cars and so forth, but, or I just, like I say, if it's just almost about to end right there, you just wait, let them slide over in front of you, and you proceed ahead, and you don't cause any issues. Who caused all the issues? The bus driver. And just back to the whole basic keep right except to pass, which so many people don't seem to do or seem to understand, but I, as a commercial driver, always obey that. If there's a passing lane coming up and I'm going anywhere, at or below the speed limit, I always move over to the right. I'm not just going to hang out in that left lane so that there wouldn't be an issue maybe if some asswagon decides not to let me in at the end like the bus did. Yeah, I could do that, but I'd be a jerk. And I try not to be a jerk. So I think I've definitively proven with Wyoming law that I was doing the right thing. I was not accelerating like some people claimed that they thought I was when the bus started to pass me. You can see I showed the speed limit, or showed the speedometer on the dash cam of what I was doing clearly. Yes, I was right out. I started around 68, got up to 70, backed off again a little bit, just because it's a hill. I got a heavy load, but I never went over 70. And he clearly is flying by me at least 5 miles an hour over that. Again, breaking the law. And again, he wasn't able to do that and finish the passing, overtaking me safely, which means he shouldn't have attempted it. Why be so aggressive when you're driving a group of people on a charter anyway? A couple of minutes isn't going to make a difference in their lives. Let's be a little safer, shall we? Why are so many people these days anyway so aggressive on the road when there's no point? Try to be safe. Try not to screw anybody else over and hit other people. And maybe we'd all have a little bit better day. What do you think? Okay, on to the next subject. The owner of Le Bus did call me on Saturday. I was asleep at the time. I got up later that afternoon. And I texted him and said, is now a good time to call you back? And he said, yes. We had a very nice conversation. He immediately apologized for the driver. He said, I would love to say that this is a guy I've known for years and years and years, and that he isn't used to doing things like that, and this is out of the ordinary. But he said, unfortunately, this is one of our newer drivers, and I really don't even know the guy at all. And that's also a reflection on our times. It's hard to get people to work anymore, to do a job. So he's having to pull from a pool of people that maybe aren't the best. And he admitted that, that he's gone through certain training, but obviously not well enough, and that he definitely would be reprimanded. He never said he'd be fired, but He definitely said reprimanded and other actions would be taken, and completely agreed with me that he should not have attempted to pass me at all, and that I was in the right, and was very apologetic. And then we actually stayed on the phone for like another half hour and had a very nice conversation. So at this point, I don't hold anything against LaBus. I'm a business owner now, owning my own truck. I owned a radio station for 13 years in Wyoming. Employees is the toughest part about owning a business, because you never know what they're going to pull. And so I can't really blame the guy for that. He at least reached out to me and was very apologetic. And like I say, we ended up having a very good conversation. He even offered me a job, because I said I used to drive the buses like that. He said, well, if you ever get out of trucking and you need a job, we'd be happy to have you. So I do give LaBus high marks for that, for getting back to me as soon as possible on the weekend. They didn't have to do that. I was not expecting to call until Monday at that point, since it was after business hours. He called me on my cell phone on the weekend to apologize and say that shouldn't have happened. So LaBus, you at least get good marks. Your driver, no. Well, thanks for tuning in for that one. Yeah, I hope that clarifies things a bit, and I really did appreciate the owner giving me the call, and we had a very nice conversation. All right, thanks for tuning in. As always, please subscribe, please like and comment. Don't forget to ring that bell. I keep forgetting to always mention that for notifications, so you know when the new videos come out. There's Clutch Trucker on Instagram, Clutch Trucker on what used to be Twitter, now X. And I usually put some Rusty stuff up there. I put some truck wash stuff up there as well. And as always, sniff that magic YouTube fairy dust. Clutch and Rusty. Out. Well, you know, that's actually not that bad, you know. I mean, yeah, it's a little on the side, but hey, they can buff that right out. Yeah, that should be just fine. So are you ready for bacon strips? Is that what you're waiting for? You want me to get the bag? I think that's a yes. All right, now come on down here. We start down here. You got to come down here first. There you go. All righty. Go after it, buddy. Yum, 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 yum. Loving them bacon strips, baby. All over them. Well, we didn't do a video the last couple nights, so he's been anticipating. Got our 34 off there in Vivian, South Dakota. Made things for pretty tight for today and all that, but you know, it is what it is, baby. It is what it is. Ready for your next one? Oh yes, happy. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I don't know why I figured he would sound that way if he were speaking. That's just the voice I always give him. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you, Wilbur. A dog is a dog, of course. Alrighty, let's get that happy dog.